What's up, college sports fans? I'm Stucky.
I'm Colin Wilson.
I'm Mike Calabrese.
I'm Maria Marino.
I'm Charlie Disturco, and we're excited that the Big Bets on Campus brand is launching its very own YouTube channel.
You'll be able to find every episode of the BBOC podcast, live shows, and other college sports content on this new channel.
Not only will the channel be dedicated to betting on college sports, but you'll also be able to find exclusive interviews with former college athletes,
college football power rankings,
and updates on other topics like the brand new College Football 25 video game series and the ins and outs of the recruiting trail all the way down to the transfer portal.
Whether you're into college football,
college basketball,
college baseball, or any of the college sports,
we are the home for college sports, and BBOC is the channel for you.
Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the action. I'll see you there.
Welcome to Buckets. This is Action Network's WNBA betting podcast presented by BetMGM, but this is a special episode talking best bets for Olympic women's basketball as group play continues this week. I'm Maria Marino, back here with Dano Mataya. And Dano, it was a very interesting first round of group play. We have 6 games coming up here over the next few days. You have a few best bets kind of scattered, but I feel like we have to start by talking about Team USA, your takeaway from their big win over Japan.
Yeah, it was a fun game. There's a few things that we've definitely learned, and it was surprising. At least they covered the first quarter spread like we talked about. But of course, the one quarter they didn't score over 23 points was the one that I bet. The rest, they were absolutely dominant. But my God, it's such an unfair advantage that we have Asia Wilson and Brianna Stewart playing together. Stewie was a plus 30 in this game. And Brianna Stewart was a crisp, or Stewie was plus 30, Asia was plus 20. So, I mean, those two players are so dominant. Asia with a double-double, Stewie, I think, at 22. So, especially against a lot of these teams who struggle with, like, the size advantage, it's going to be just those two players eating. And I'm happy that Cheryl Reeve goes to them a lot. Chelsea Gray, incredible with the assist.
13.
Yeah, and I feel like she had 10 at halftime. So it is somewhat easy when you're filling it up in the paint. We had 64 paint points compared to 22 for Japan. I took the live under on Japan's total points, and I felt pretty good about it until I realized they were going to take 43s and make 15 of them. Constant movement, so it was a fun game to watch nonetheless. As far as the bench goes, absolutely adore and love what we got from Sabrina. She was fantastic in her short time. I think until the garbage time minutes for Japan, she was the highest in plus minus off the bench. She was a plus 21 at one point, just dominating, whether it was her passing, shooting. She scored in the lane. She was constantly moving. I'm a little worried about the rest of our bench production, especially from the guards. The fact that the rest of our team went 1 for 13 from 3 against a team like Belgium, for example, who does have some size with Mieseman and Linskens. It's going to be very tough to get that same type of production. So you're going to need to see a lot more out of the guards in that next game. But God, I mean. People forget we were down to Belgium in the qualifiers the entire game until Stewie hit a game winner. It was a few months ago, so it's cool that we have Asia Wilson, the best player on the planet. But I do think we need a lot more scoring, at least from the guards. I think we had 2 guards in double digits, Sabrina and Plum. And of course, I mean, you have Brittany Griner coming off the bench who. I think she had multiple one-handed rebounds, just standing there making the Japanese look extremely small. But yeah, and I mean, I don't know about you as far as your takeaways, but my only thing is some of our guard defenders were definitely getting lost. They caused a lot of switches, and that led to a ton of open threes. So what did you see?
Yeah, largely the same. I think right away, and you warned me this was going to happen. You said on our last episode, you were like, target, Stewie and Asia overs, and it was very clear from the jump that Cheryl Reeve is riding Asia and Stewie. Like, those are the big dogs. They are, everything's running through them, and then everybody else is just kind of supplemental, which makes sense because they are so dominant. They have size, they have a lot of skill. Of course, I also noticed that the perimeter defense for the U.S. left something to be desired, and I think it's a combination of things. One is maybe just a little bit of miscommunication with there still being some like getting used to that needs to happen for the guards on the US and who's covering who. But also I just felt like the Japanese backcourt, they were just extremely energetic. It had a lot of motor, had a lot of speed to them. Were just I was impressed by how aggressive they were. And again, I think the focus for Team USA were the bigs inside, and maybe there needed to be just a little bit more aggressiveness from the guards. But that being said, I agree. When Sabrina hit a couple of threes, I felt like that opened things up, and I also enjoyed her playmaking. After Chelsea Gray, does what she does, and she's dropping dimes, to have Sabrina kind of come in and like pick up where Chelsea Gray left off, I think is really nice. But as far as the guard play from the US too, we have to remember, Diana Taurasi got in a little bit of foul trouble. She had to sit down, pretty early, which it's fine. Like, the US has plenty of depth. Even Kalia Copper, I feel like, unfortunately, she took like a hard hit to the midsection. She didn't play as much as I think she would normally play. But I definitely remember thinking like I was ready to see some of those players come in, just because, it wasn't a comfortable like first quarter, first half. It's not like everything was as great as Asia and Stewie were playing. It's not like everything was like so fluid where you felt like, oh, like they're just gonna coast. It didn't feel quite like that in the first half. Second half was much better. But looking ahead, so this is actually the latest game scheduled on the slate over the next few days. Belgium takes on USA Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern. But again, I feel like most people want to know about this matchup, so we're gonna just preview that, and then we'll go through all the rest of the games fairly briefly and get your thoughts, Dano, on everything. But USA favored by 24.5 going into the Belgium game. They beat Japan by 26. So how do you feel about the spread?
I think it's going to be a completely different type of game. So, like, as of right now, like, if I was to bet it, I would be on Belgium. Even though Belgium's coming off a huge upset to, Germany. I was happy that we talked about Germany plus 12.5. I did not see Germany winning outright.
Yeah.
Germany played great, but Belgium took a while to get going. And they're not far from where they're playing in France. Like, I think I read somewhere it's like a 2-hour train ride. So apparently there were a ton of fans for Belgium as well. Just could not get the ball to fall in the first half. They have Emma Miesemann, who you talked about last podcast, is one of the, top 3 players in the world. 2019 Finals MVP.
Right.
They do have a lot more size down low. The issue is going to be, after one of them goes out, and we still have Stewie, Wilson, and Griner. Like, it's someone's going to be eating in this game for sure. So,
Right.
Van Loo started to get going. She had a pretty bad first half against Germany, but
Which you predicted as well, because you
yeah.
were like, she's good, but she's smaller, and Germany has bigger guards.
Yeah, the size and ability to switch ended up being great, and it's you've had the same kind of core for a long time with Belgium, and Julie Allemann's not healthy enough to play, so it's a I ended up really hurting them, and that's not a game that you can lose especially when you're probably not going to beat Team USA. you wanted to bet the money line, go ahead.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
like I mean, there might be some, some great value. This could be a great game where you could bet live. But for me, I think the guards are going to step up a little more in this game. Like Fibic from the wing was able to tear Belgium apart.
Mm,
So
love
uh,
Leo. Leo
yeah,
season, baby.
yeah,
It's happening. Yeah, but
phenomenal game.
so looking at the spread a little more closely, like, so Germany beat Belgium by 14. So
Hmm.
when you see that, you think like, okay, USA could probably win by 25, but at the same time, it's not something I'm rushing to bet just because it's just, I don't know, it's just a scary number. And again, USA only beat Japan by 26. But Miesemann had 25 points in the loss to Germany, and I think you nailed it in terms of like Miesemann is going to get hers. I think she's probably going to have another 25-point game, but it's probably not going to be enough when you
Yeah,
have the size and the numbers that USA can throw at her.
yeah, and I mean, like Satu got to the free throw line 10 times in the
Mm.
game against Belgium. Like that's a huge cause for concern because you know I could see Asia Wilson taking 18 free throws in this game. Like,
I
mm,
did notice, I feel like the whistle, look, I love how in the international game, the whistle it's not as common, right? They let a
yeah,
lot more contact go. I think it makes the pace way better. It keeps it super interesting. But Asia Wilson seems to still be able to draw fouls, like regardless, which is actually very impressive.
yeah. I mean, and it's I mean, some players do get absolutely hammered and there's no call. I mean, it's definitely like you're saying they let a lot more go than the
Yeah,
WNBA game, but still, I mean, I have no doubts that we're going to win.
yeah.
I just do worry a little bit, like again with guard play, needing them to play up a level a little bit more, and and goodness, I mean, if Emma Miesemann's able to get us in foul trouble, that's a huge cause for concern. So, um, as of right now, I'm probably staying away. It's probably like the number's too big, but if I were to bet, it would be Belgium.
Very interesting. Okay, cool. Let's move on then, because I said we have a few other games that we want to talk about. And I kind of want to move here since we were talking about Germany, who beat Belgium. Let's move to the Germany game, if you're cool with that. They are going to be playing Japan next, which is also the team that USA just beat. So Japan is laying 4.5 against Germany. This one's Thursday, 5 a.m. Eastern. And you talked about Satu Sabali. How did you think she looked in this game? Because I remember when you talked about the exhibition, Germany against USA, you were like, she looked a tad rusty. How did you think she looked this time out?
I think she was a force.
Yeah,
Able to get to the line, knock down shots from really all over the court. I mean, she was in the MVP race last year. Granted, hasn't played a lot, and like we both said, it was good to get her some experience going. Um, she is obviously their best player, and I know Niara Sabali, her sister, who starts on this team at center, did
yeah.
go out at a specific point, so um, that is a little bit of cause for concern. I know Satu did not actually score a 2-point attempt yesterday, but she also went to the line 10 times and got 8 points off free throws. Did
Okay,
it?
so she's getting a little bit. Her and Asia have that going for them.
Yeah, she did hit three of her 7 threes, which you got a 6'4" wing who can drive. You have to keep her honest. I I mean, Japan held us to 4 for 20 from three, so it's going to be a lot tougher. We obviously have a huge size advantage, or we had a huge size advantage. Germany is going to have the same thing. There's a few players on Japan with some size, but I mean, outside of their point guard who played great, Alexis Peterson, like there's size all over the court for Germany. So I do expect them to get to the line a lot, but it's going to be a lot tougher for them to guard this continuous movement and firing up a ton of threes. So I mean, I could see Japan running away with this game. I think it's going to be more faster paced. There's going to be a lot of fouls. So I mean, I'm with this one. I'm taking the over, 148.5. I think it's going to be an exciting game, and I think Germany surprised a lot of people. Uh, Germany coming off their first ever women's basketball Olympic win, so there could be a slight letdown spot. I mean, I probably want to hear a little bit more about Niara's status. She
Yeah.
played great too, um, but want to make sure that she's definitely okay before launching at least a big type of bet. She did play 24 minutes, was 6 or 7 for the field. I mean, just awesome player. A plus 12. Didn't lead them in plus minus, of course. That was Leo, who was just we no choice but to stand. 3 for 4 from 3. I mean, yeah, they lit it up. 8 for 16 from 3. But like we said, Japan takes 39 a game. They definitely have a
So,
shot.
Leo is starting to become a close second, and maybe even starting to surpass my adoration for Maureen Johannes, who last episode you called your favorite player's favorite player. But Leonie Fievish she's getting in that territory for me. Something about those European Liberty guards. But yeah, so Niara, she got hit in the face. Hopefully she's okay. That's a great point about kind of knowing more about her status. Seems like you're kind of leaning Japan, but again, the safer way going the over there. But I do feel like both Sabalis, I know you talked about Satu was more like, making threes, but Niara, especially, with her size, I do think she can have success against the interior of Japan. So I think that's going to be actually another great game.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, now you say that, like, I'm assuming she's going to play, barring anything crazy. But that's why I'm on Twitter all the time, to make sure.
Yes,
But yeah, no, I
follow
mean,
him.
that's a
Follow
great,
him.
great, great point. Like, I think I would love to look for Sabali overs tomorrow, like rebounds and points.
Interesting. Okay, yes. At Dr. Mattia on Twitter there for Dano. At Maria C. Marino, in case you didn't know. Real quick side note, if I can speak. We're gonna get into this at some point. We'll do like an episode to get us back into the WNBA regular season. But seeing the way Satu is playing, I'm like, is somehow, some way Dallas gonna make like a playoff push with her coming back? But I'm not even going to have you answer that right now. We're going to just leave it a teaser. We're going to talk about that in the coming weeks. But let's keep it moving with our Olympic Games. So we talked about Japan, Germany. I mentioned Maureen Johannes. So let's talk about France, Nigeria. So this is another one, Thursday, 11:15 a.m. Eastern. And France had definitely a statement win over Canada, won by 21 points. They are now favored by 17 and a half against Nigeria, but Nigeria made a statement of their own. We talked about like the spread being 24 and a half in favor of Australia, and Nigeria won outright. What? They beat Australia by 13.
Yeah, I mean, they were up by 15 at one point. I think they took the lead in the second quarter and never looked back. I think it got a little bit close, towards the end of the third, and then Nigeria just went crazy. But holding Australia to 62 points, a team with a lot of Olympic experience, a team with a lot of WNBA players. What more can you say? It's an awesome win. I mean, they really were picking them up full court, causing a ton of turnovers. 26 points off of turnovers for Nigeria, which is, not every guard is going to be having trouble with them, but I mean, Jade Melbourne is not the biggest player. France does have some bigger guards, and they have multiple guards who can bring it up, but still a good system that can mess you up is very important to have, and especially when you're a huge underdog. So I feel good uh, about at least Nigeria's chances to keep this game close. I don't know if they're going to be able to pull off an upset win over the host nation, but if you were thinking that, you should look to bet rather than betting them on the money line this game. Take them to win the entire group. I think yesterday I saw it in some markets at plus 5,000 still. So I
Hmm.
mean, like I didn't think they could beat Australia, and who knows, you know.
Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, forced Australia into 26 turnovers and converting points off a lot of them with 26, and I mean that's incredible. It's a special group, and that being said, I do think France is the second best team in this tournament. I mean, they got Marine coming off the bench. Gabby Williams was phenomenal against Canada, and I think we saw like a lot of great things from their defense. They held Canada to 2 points in the second quarter. Those 2 points didn't come until there was, I think, a minute and 30 left. It
What
was
the hell
rough.
was that? What?
Yeah,
I mean, they were very disciplined on defense, obviously. And you mentioned Gabby Williams. I think she had 5 steals. Yes. 5 steals for Gabby. Man, I missed watching her play. That was impressive, but still it was a bit shocking to see Canada just with those 2 points in that quarter.
yeah. I mean, last time these two teams played, France and Nigeria. Actually, Nigeria won by 2, but that was Olympic qualifying. So I don't even remember who all played in that. Didn't watch the game, but France obviously has an advantage being at home, and we saw it with with Canada. It's
Right.
like not just the balance of scoring was impressive. Like I expected a little bit more from Marine. Missed a ton of her shots, but like it doesn't matter when you're holding Canada to 20 points and a half. That's worse than Puerto Rico, and I took that over, and I was I was thinking that the entire time. Like goodness.
Yeah. But correct me if I'm wrong, Dano. She did score a bit in that second quarter, right?
Yeah. She scored
Marine,
I
she
feel like
kind of
7
got
straight.
going.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, but it did take her quite a few minutes to get going. I just
Yeah.
also, I mean, like I think I expected a little bit more from Canada. Uh,
Same.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean, Kia Nurse had 11 points. Like, no one really, there was just no one that really stepped up and, showed out for Canada. But
yeah,
that being said, for this France Nigeria game, you like the under, correct?
I do, I don't love it as a best bet, but I will be betting it. I think these are two great defenses. I mean, I tweeted yesterday, like I think Nigeria may have the second best defense compared to Team USA, and then now I think I want to bump Team USA to like third, um, and let these two teams go at it. What's it at? At
I'm seeing 138.5 right now.
yeah. I I think it's fine. I think it's going to be a slugfest unless it's really close, and you're seeing a lot of fouls at the end of a game. It shouldn't be close. I mean, one of these teams is going to prevail. I think by at least 10, and it should be France, and
Yeah.
someone is going to be held to I think in the 55 or below range. It's similar to
Okay.
kind of the Canada game. So I kind of see it going that script. I just think,
Not a
19
best
points is a lot.
Yeah, so not a best bet, just to clarify, but leaning
Yeah.
under. But I will say I agree in that Nigeria isn't. I don't think they're going to catch France sleeping. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the way that they upset Australia, it's like I think France kind of knows. Like, all right, this is a. I mean, not that they weren't thinking that anyway. One thing I noticed about like the all of these games in general, Dano, and we talked about on last episode the point differential mattering. If there was some way we could bottle that in like NBA and WNBA games, I know it's impossible unless it's like Commissioner's Cup or in-season tournament where point differential like means something. But man, like these teams, obviously there's a pride element too. They just play so hard and with so much pride from the very beginning to the very end. And even if you're up, you saw it with Team USA, you're up 20 plus and you're trying to get that last bucket before the buzzer. And there's just something so fun about that. There's not like that lull at the end of the game where it's like playing the foul game. It's boring. It's slow. It's like you actually feel like even if there's a big lead, you want to watch the end of the game.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to somebody on or like Twitter DMs. He was like, hey, I rode France minus 12.5. And then I saw it and, moved to 9.5 and I took that, but now I want to try to middle Canada plus 19.5. And then Achanwa gets fouled and makes 2 free throws when they were down 21 to make it 19 with 3 seconds left. And I'm like, oh no. And of course, France calls a timeout to set up a play to score up 19 to win by 21. So you're right. I mean, it definitely matters. And I mean, there's a lot more probably implications that, for the point differential, especially going into the last games when a lot of teams have a better idea of who has done well, or at least like, or like what they need to score
Right.
or beat a team by. And the cool thing about the women's basketball tournament is every single game is at a different time. It's not like women's soccer in this Olympic tournament where there's multiple games happening at the same time. So you'll know what you need to do because a lot of these third place teams are going to be moving forward. So it's going to be it's going to be very important. That's why Belgium still has a fighter's chance, but they're going to have to do it going 1 and 2. So the best result for Belgium is Japan beating Germany, and they could still even finish second in that group. But anyways, yeah. I mean, so this is not a fun type of tournament to bet live if you're trying to middle, because both teams are really giving it all they got to run up that score. It's scary, but I mean, you did see it with like Puerto Rico against Serbia. Puerto Rico down, I think 17 going into the fourth quarter, and then or something like that, and they win the fourth quarter 19-3, and it's a 3-point game. Very disappointing.
Wild.
from that end. If you were Serbia better for sure.
Well, I appreciate the live betting advice and the caution. I think that's a really good point. And before we move into Group A, which has, Serbia, Spain, China, Puerto Rico, let's just wrap up Group B real quick. So we were talking about France and Nigeria, which I think is going to be a really, really good game. Now on the other side, you have Australia looking for redemption. They're favored by 8.5 against Canada. So this is Thursday morning as well, 7:30 Eastern in the morning. And just looking at this from the surface, you got to feel like bounce back for Australia, right? I mean, Canada, we saw all the holes that they have, just kind of an uninspired first effort. I mean, obviously they're going to be looking for the bounce back as well, but I just think that on paper, Australia has a lot more weapons, or, theoretically should. And once again, to be favored by almost 25 points and to lose outright to Nigeria, like, I got to feel like Sandy Brondello is just like out for blood in this next game.
Yeah. And I mean, you really can look at the box score and feel good about one player on Australia. Like, and that, it was a post. It was Alana Smith from the Minnesota Lynx who I think showed up. She was 6 for 9 from the field, 15 points, 7 rebounds. She was hooping, but you really did not get much out of a lot of players. Jade Melbourne had 4 turnovers. Christy Wallace went over 3 in her 13 minutes of play. Not that like I'm the biggest Christy Wallace fan. Steph Talbot has been like coming back off an injury, but she didn't play in their tune-up games, right? At all. And I think Steph Talbot had been playing really well for the Sparks until she got hurt. Didn't play in the tune-up games. Starts for Australia, plays 33 minutes and goes 1 for 10. Like, she is definitely going to bounce back in her next game. Ezzy Magmagor played 31 minutes, and I thought she was going to have a huge impact. I was thinking probably a double-double. She had 9 and 5. Like, people were talking about her being an all-star and a defensive player of the year, all that. Kayla George, who I think a lot of people were looking forward to see, played 3 minutes. So, yeah, I mean, Sammy Wickham was kind of a bright spot, but she still went 5 for 14. I think it's going to be a lot easier to score. On Canada, and they're not as fast as a team like Nigeria. Canada may mix some things up and maybe press when they see film on how Nigeria attacked Australia. But to me, I think Canada's got way more problems.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
A lot more harder things to solve. You're not really getting much from your bigs.
I was bummed. I think Aaliyah Edwards had a point and did decent on the glass. But yeah, I was the whole roster from top to bottom for Canada. There was just not a whole lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, this is also a rematch of the third place game from the World Cup in 2022. In Australia, I almost said the S word. They dominated Canada. I think
you can say it. We are actually allowed to swear on here.
Okay, Australia shit on Canada. 95-65. So that I don't expect that to necessarily happen again, but I do think you're getting pretty decent value here for a team that was, I guess at least until the Beck Allen injury, was favored to win this group. And one player, it's not Asia Wilson going down. It's Beck Allen. So Australia minus 7.5, minus 8.5 at some places. That's my best bet. I think they win here against Canada by double digits.
Got it. Yeah. So officially now, Australia is the second favorite to win the group. So France is at like minus 200, Australia plus 220, Nigeria I'm seeing at plus 1400, Canada plus 1600 for Group B. So again, I look forward to that one just because I look forward to seeing the solutions that Sandy kind of comes up with, just the energy, and that should be another good one. All right, so riding with Australia minus the points. And so that wraps up Group B. And the only other games we haven't touched on yet are from Group A, and they're actually the soonest games. They are Wednesday, 5 a.m. Eastern, Puerto Rico against Spain, and China, Serbia, 7:30 a.m. Eastern, Wednesday. So we'll touch on these real quick. I know you don't have a ton. I'm not going to be up that early. I don't know about you, but I mean, in case anyone wants to log any bets tonight before they go to sleep, we got Puerto Rico and Spain. Spain is the favorite, 20.5 points they are laying. So just a quick thought on that.
Yes. I mean, obviously having the over in the Puerto Rico game, I felt really good at the end of the first quarter. I was like, oh, wow, Rella has only 2 points. They put up 38 points in the first quarter. And then Arella, I think, went 1 for 7 in the first half. I also had a lot of money on her to go over 14.5 points, being their leading scorer. Yes. And she didn't even play the second half. Granted, they got down big against Serbia, and I mean, Serbia was kind of getting whatever they want. I think everybody will have a size advantage on Puerto Rico. So the bigs were eating. The bigs were hidden from three. I mean, they were getting out in transition. Puerto Rico's offense just really, is hit or miss. They played extremely hard, and they fought all the way back to nearly tie this game. I think they got it within 2 is the closest they got it in the fourth quarter. But I think that speaks more to Serbia kind of taking the foot off the gas and not taking them as seriously. Spain is, with a huge comeback win with one of the craziest fourth quarters I've ever seen. Really distraught as somebody who had China to win the group and China money line in that game. I think I don't see any props hit, at least on MGM. But I think Meg Gustafson, like she did against China, is going to have another huge game. Super impressed with her footwork, her ability to finish from everywhere. She didn't hit any threes, but she was extremely efficient in this game, or in that game against China, and I expect her to dominate even more. She's been a player who's had success like in Euro basketball, so in a lot of these similar rules. I mean, 14 for 21, 14 from 19 for 2, 29 points, played 40 plus minutes since it went to overtime. I don't think they get the same type of game from Leonor Rodriguez, who hit they were down 3 with, 6 seconds left, and she hit a 3, and also China could have fouled before this. She hits a 3, gets fouled, it goes in, she misses the free throw, so it went to overtime. But I don't think you're getting that same type of game from her. Probably their best other guard, Maria Conde, didn't play because she's been hurt, which I didn't even realize. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a game that when props come out, I think you jump all over Meg Gustafson for sure.
Don't you love how someone is repping Iowa overseas in the Olympics?
Yeah. That's a good point.
We saw some interesting signage in the USA game in reference to Caitlin Clark, which was obviously insane. Yeah. But no, in all seriousness, good for Megan Gustafson. You said those 29 points, and I'll say this about this group: it's clearly appears to be the closest group so far. I mean, Puerto Rico ends up losing by only 3 points to Serbia, and then you had China losing by just 1 point to Spain. But yeah, so that was the first matchup. And then just to wrap things up here, we got China now favored by 7.5 against Serbia, also Wednesday morning, bright and early. And you like China again.
Yeah. And they lost the last time these two teams played. Completely different team though, on both sides. But I think China is going to, you got to bounce back. I mean, there's no reason to be leading this entire game and then blow it. And you really cannot afford to lose this game if you want to advance. So the added motivation is there. You know that Serbia only beat Puerto Rico by 3. So I think China has potential to at least win this one by double digits and then blow out Puerto Rico. I really loved what I saw from most of China. Granted, like everything you could have done wrong at the end of that game, you did by missing free throws, fouling 3-point shooters, not fouling when you should up 3. But great second half from Hanshu. Great entire game from Lee Uero. 31 points. She's the leading scorer of this entire tournament so far, which I did not see coming. And I don't know if that will continue. I do have a little bit of money on Emma Miesemann. I don't know if that's going to be good. And, maybe the favorite was Asia Wilson all along. But Lee was fantastic. Like Sparks fans should be super excited what they see out of her. I mean, getting putbacks, great moves, finishing, and she knocked down I think 9 of her 10 free throws. So I mean, I think this is probably a player you keep continuing to ride as far as the prop market goes. Very similar to Asia and Stewie. She might almost be matchup proof. She played the most minutes. It's funny. I mean, you think with a huge size advantage, China would try to play her and Hanshu together, but they just don't. Um, I don't get it. Like I
Yeah.
would absolutely at least try it. I mean, sure you lose something defensively, and with the amount of threes that Serbia takes, it may not be the right matchup, but there's got to be a certain time where you just want to dominate the paint. But still, Lee Mung looked a little bit better than she had in her tune-up games. Got some good shooting elsewhere around the perimeter from China. So um, I just think they are the better team. They have better size. Uh, China to me is a top 4 team in this tournament on paper. Uh, I'm a little scared the fact that basically outside of the U.S. and France we had all these dogs covering, but I'm gonna ride China for sure.
Yeah, you had a nugget about underdogs in
Yeah,
the tournament so far.
yeah, 4-0 against the spread. Um, one of them winning straight up, uh, but that of course I think I texted you that before the France game
Before,
started, or no, 2 of them winning straight up because Germany did almost 3.
right?
Um, uh, that was of course until France went crazy on Canada, and then the U.S. ended up pulling away from
Gotcha.
Japan.
Interesting. Interesting. So France and USA really the only ones
Yeah.
favorites taking care of business thus far. All right, we have had a solid 40 minutes
Wow.
venting about the Olympics so far, Dano. It flew
So fun.
by because this has been
Yeah.
super fun. Once again, he's Dano Mattia. I'm Maria Marino. We're going to try to bring you another episode Friday for remaining group play if we can swing it. So keep an eye on the feed. And then as planned, Joe Delera and Brian Fonseca will be back to preview the quarterfinals going into Monday of next week. But until then, enjoy the Olympics, everybody, and let's get buckets.